All right, so here we go. The Morning Skate Report presented by UMC. Dave Goucher, Shane Hnidy with you. City National Arena. And we welcome you, all of you, joining us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Here at CNA, Shane getting set. Game 5. The Golden Knights starting to trickle on the ice a little bit here, slowly but surely. But they have put themselves in a terrific spot, up 3-1 and a chance here. In their history, they've done so many good things. They've yet to close out a playoff series on home ice. So they have a chance to do that tonight.
And it's interesting to think that the success they've had yet, they haven't done it on home ice. So I think that's a huge opportunity. It's something, as a player you look for. You thrive to be in those situations where you can do this in front of fans, more fans. It's a special night, but it's always the toughest win. Pete DeBoer talked about it after the game. The fourth win's the hardest in any series. But they're playing better. Their game has grown, much like we heard all throughout the year. They wanted to get better as the season went along. Well, they're trying to do the same thing, and they have done the same thing here through playoffs through these first 4 games. They've gotten a lot better in their areas. Starts are still going to be important. I think in a game like this, if you can put that team on brink of elimination, give them some doubts early, it's always beneficial.
Send us your questions, by the way. We will get to as many as we can before we wrap things up. The Golden Knights, they split the first 2 games of the series here at T-Mobile, and then they go to Minnesota, Shane, and sometimes it's just the way it works, right? They hadn't had any success there in regulation in their history, and they win Game 3 with a big comeback, down 2-0 in that game. And then your feelings on Game 4, probably their best all-around game, I guess, of the series so far.
Well, before we get there, I remember you asked me this question a lot. I said regulation and playoffs don't relate.
Yeah, right.
And it's been true. They were able to go to Minnesota, find success. It's a different animal when you get to the postseason. I really like their game. Once again, Marc-Andre Fleury makes the saves. He every game, if there's, earlier on, he was fantastic till they woke up. This game, maybe not so much, but he made the saves they needed to. He's getting the offensive support, which is so important. It's good to see the depth guys step up. Huge goal by Nick Waugh that really, that whole shift started in his own end. He pretty much touched the backboards behind Fleury and then went end to end. Great little play by Kolesar in the neutral zone, added an empty net goal, and special teams. Power play hasn't done much, but the penalty kill has been very, very well. It's number 1 in the league in the regular season. That carried over. It's been terrific. And if your power play isn't producing, they got 1 from Tuck late in the one game, but their penalty kill is completely shut down the Wild. And then a huge goal shorthanded by Mark Stone in a situation that, if you're the Wild, you're talking that is a key point where things didn't turn. You get a double minor. You can't capitalize on the penalty to Whitecloud, the Parise, the double minor. And Mark Stone, the captain, comes through, and as good as the goal was, the celebration was even better.
What did he say? The net came off, I lost my stick, and then I lost my mind. We're going to dip in here to the Station Casinos Rink Cam. So we said the Golden Knights starting to take the ice here at CNA. Right now,
that's a good sign.
Braden McNabb, who did not play in Game 4, of course, he missed about 6 weeks earlier this year due to injury, had never missed a Golden Knights playoff game until Game 4 on Saturday. But good to see him out on the ice, and we'll see who else trickles out as they move along here. Of course, the Golden Knights came back from the Twin Cities yesterday, did not skate yesterday, so you'd think they would have at least a fair share of guys on the ice here this morning as they get set for Game 5. Of course, 7:30 tonight at T-Mobile Arena, 7 o'clock pregame show on AT&T Sportsnet. But for the Golden Knights, as they say, they look like
Dylan Coghlan.
Looks like Dylan Coghlan. So, another player that is not suited up here for the postseason, but had a big game for himself in Minnesota earlier this year.
He did. The hat trick. That's one way to do it. That's certainly a lasting memory.
Let's get to some questions here, Shane, and we'll sprinkle these in as we go along. First question is Cake on the Twitters. Cake wants to know, is Alex Pietrangelo now becoming the defenseman we had hoped for when the Golden Knights signed him to that big free agent deal?
I think we saw it down the stretch. You saw him get better, and that it speaks to a guy that, from that pedigree. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's been an elite defenseman. Took a little while to find his way, but I think he was playing well, but the numbers started to show at the end of the regular season, and he's a guy that understands there's a switch you got to turn up a little bit when you get to this time of the year, and he has been terrific here in the postseason. It's always important to have your key guys step up like that, and I think we've seen that throughout the lineup. They've gotten better as a man. The captain, we just talked about Mark Stone. One shot in each of the first 2 games, but all of a sudden now he's got leading the way with 3 goals, 4 points for the Golden Knights. It's important to have those guys going, and I agree, Pietrangelo. But I think it started a little further back, but it's progressively gotten better.
He had started to kind of come into his own here with his new team. Then he got hurt, right? Missed about 3 weeks.
Came back, and then he was fighting again, got injured.
Yeah, again.
COVID. One was COVID, one was injury.
First was COVID, then the injury. Yeah, so it's and I think we kind of touched on this, Shane, as we went through the regular season. How big an adjustment it can be for somebody, right? He's his whole career with St. Louis, spends a decade plus in that organization, and then comes over here, and you could certainly speak to it much better than I can, but, everything I hear, Golden Knights defend differently, they handle the rush differently.
Terminology.
Everything's changed.
Yeah, it's just different systems, it's different ways, especially when you've been in one for so long. And, we referenced Max Pacioretty. His first year he came over here. He put up 22 goals. Then the next year, comfortable, it's 30-goal mark. So we've been able to see, as a guy is able to acclimate to that new organization after being in one for so long. And it's different for every player, but certainly I believe Pietrangelo's right where you want him right now as a Golden Knight fan.
As you can see, more and more of the guys coming out onto the ice here at CNA for a morning twirl, getting set for Game 5 tonight. You mentioned Max Pacioretty, Shane, on YouTube. Joseph asks, what has impressed you the most about the Golden Knights playing without Pacioretty so far in the playoffs?
Well, I think we've seen this from the Golden Knights right from day one, the next man up mentality. Certainly you'd rather have Max Pacioretty in your lineup, but when he's not, it's on the other players to step up. And I think last game was a real good example of getting that depth scoring. And Pete DeBoer talked about really singled that line of Waugh, Janmark, and Kolesar felt it was their best game. And you need those type of players to come along, and everybody's got to do a little bit more when you're missing it. Certainly, he's a threat. I think the power play really misses from him because he commands so much attention. You have to respect him when he has the puck with that shot. And when you have that, it opens up other plays for the other guys, and they maybe don't have that, certainly they don't have that dangerous weapon of his release on the power play right now, so it forces maybe the penalty killer's jobs a little bit easier. But all that said, one guy I'm a big believer in, it's team first, and so is everybody who plays. So one guy out of the lineup, it's just a matter of everybody else doing a little bit more, and they've been able to do it.
And we'll see about potentially Max Pacioretty returning or not. So if he does miss tonight, and we don't know, Pete DeBoer has termed it all along here, game time decision. Fact of the matter is he's missed the last 10 games, right? He missed the final 6 in the regular year, first 4 of this playoff series. We'll see whether or not he's in there. And
that'd be an advantage. That's why they'd like to clean this up, take care of business tonight. That adds so much more time, not only for him. There's, they're not going to say it, but there's a guy, you get banged up here in playoffs. There's bumps, there's bruises, more time to heal is always a good thing.
Yeah, if they could buy themselves a little bit of time. Of course, the winner of this series takes on Colorado. There were 2 teams yesterday that had a chance to wrap up their series. Colorado against St. Louis, they did. Boston against Washington, they did as well. The Golden Knights will try to do that and take care of their own business tonight. Colorado awaits the winner of this series. Another question, Shane, on Twitter regarding the power play. Why is the power play struggling? We've done well, meaning the Golden Knights have done well 5-on-5. What's been your assessment of, 1 for 11 now in the series?
Well, I think they've moved some pieces around, and this goes back to Pacioretty not being on there. We've seen Mark Stone take a little bit of, room on the half wall, then back on the goal line, which is where they had probably the majority of their success was when Stone himself moved to that goal line presence. And different personnel. You're seeing, Theodore with one unit, then Pietrangelo, and now they're switching. So I think it's a matter of just getting comfortable, and it all comes down to confidence. It really does. The execution, the quick puck movement, and I think and again, I'm going to steal from Pete DeBoer. He said a lot of times their power play reflects their overall game. So when they're playing better, their power play's better, and certainly I think that was the case. Last game they had 7 shots on the 1 power play. So it's not like it hasn't looked good. It just certainly hasn't got maybe the results everybody would like, as the players would like to. But once they can get results, I think once confidence builds a little bit, that'll certainly help it move in the right direction.
And not insignificant, as you mentioned, the 1 power play goal they have was a big one.
It was a big
right?
goal.
Alex Tuck, final minute, game 2. a chance to put that game away, really put it away, and they did.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see a little more of a shot mentality for them. I think that opens things up if they can get pucks to the net early on the power play. First of all, it's getting set up. Zone entry, their face-offs have been really good in this series. That allows you to start with possession. But I think a lot of times you don't try to force plays. Through the seams. I think if they can establish some shots, then puck recovery, then that opens up the lanes to start trying some plays and look for those, seam passes, shots on the back door.
All right, we're going to lay out here, let you hear some of the sights and sounds. The Golden Knights on the ice at City National, courtesy of our Station Casinos Rink Cam, as they get set to try to close out this series with Game 5 against Minnesota tonight. Golden Knights continuing their morning skate, gearing up for the 5th game tonight against the Minnesota Wild. They try to close out this best of 7. The VGK try to win their 6th playoff series in their 4th year of existence, and they'll try to do that tonight at the Fortress. Quick word, of course, from our partners, brought to you by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of your Vegas Golden Knights. Dave and Shane with you from Studio 31, the Golden Knights and the Wild getting ready to clash tonight. We talk about it a lot, Shane, but how games and the game of hockey can be a game of inches. You think about the 2 enormous challenges the Golden Knights won, right? I mean, you go back to Game 3, they're down 2-0 in the first period. They don't have anything going, and it looks like it's going to be 3-0 for the Wild. Offside by this much, that's called back. Huge turning point. And it happened again the other night, inside of, 20 seconds after Nick Waugh scores. Goalie interference on Marcus Foligno. Joel Eriksson Ek has scored 2. He's had 2 others wiped out here so far in the series.
Well, an important call is the offside. That one's, pretty much black and white. That one I can tell you. You can see it. It's either offside or it isn't. That one was offside. It was close, but offside, no goal. The one last game I know brought a little bit of controversy, and all goaltender interference calls, well, the majority of them. There's some that are clearly one way or the other. But I think that was a good challenge just because Foligno was in the blue paint and contact wasn't much. That's what, and to Foligno's defense, that's exactly what the coach wants from him. That's where you have to go as a player. But it went the Golden Knights' way, and at an important time, it was deflating. That takes away momentum in their home building from the Wild. So that one I think hurt them a little bit more. They still had the 2-0 lead in Game 3 when they lost that goal. But that one, and to the Golden Knights' credit, that's within the rules. Not like they didn't do anything. They didn't force it, and huge calls, both of them, for the Golden Knights, and really instrumental in helping them get that win. It was a part of it. It wasn't everything, but certainly it's allowed them to get to the game. And as we can see, Fleury down there, I could talk about him all day and how great he has been. It's just been a continuation of it. You didn't think the way he ended the regular season, you're like, well, what can he do more in playoffs? Well, he has. Just his focus has been tremendous, and his ability to keep his team. There's a confidence level that he has given to those players in front of him.
His goals against in the playoffs, 0.99.
Is that good?
That's good. 4 goals in 4 games so far. And you think about it, overtime in Game 1, didn't allow a goal in regulation, shutout in Game 4. He's been lights out. A question on the YouTubes from Ghost_crazy. Do you think this is the best you've seen Fleury play?
Yes.
Yeah, he was so good in year 1 that, that's a high bar, but he's been unbelievable all season long.
He looks more controlled in his movements. He just the way you watch the way he tracks pucks with his eyes, and it's constantly there. Certainly, he got a little bit of help at the end of the year. There's that one that was right up against the post, inches from going in, but if he can see it, and then his movements, he's not overextending. He's there. He's able to recover, and that's why you see these, making saves in succession, because he's not overextending. He's in the zone, and you hope he stays there. I think he will. He's just a guy that's lasered in right now at this moment, and we talked about his competitive fire. Everybody thinks of Mark Fleury and how nice the smile. You see all that, but he is as competitive as they come. And he's constantly one of those guys you want to constantly. He shouldn't have to, but constantly prove yourself.
2 goals or less from Marc-Andre Fleury in 13 consecutive starts going back to the regular season, the longest stretch of his career. And I always try to put that in context, Shane. This isn't a guy that's been in the league 3 or 4 years, right? He's 16 years in the NHL, 3 Stanley Cups. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame whenever he's done playing. He could, and it's a ways away. And I feel like we've charted this chapter and verse this year, his climb up the all-time wins chart. But he could catch Patrick Waugh. It's going to take a couple of years probably, number 2 all-time. But to have him be playing this good at this late stage or the latter stages of his career has been even more impressive.
And that's, credit to him. Players that have longevity in this league, first of all, you got to be in tremendous shape. You got to have a passion, love for the game. But also the willingness to evolve and constantly find ways to get better. Make adjustments to your game. And I think that's where he deserves a lot of credit in what he did with his game in the offseason and coming in, some adjustments, some changes that have really paid off. And just a great season for him, a tremendous career. I heard an interesting thing today. I was listening to some sports talk radio in the NHL, and a question was posed. It was really good. Fleury had 3 cups before he came to Vegas, everything. But would we talk about Hall of Fame with Fleury after Pittsburgh? Probably not. But after what he's done here in Vegas, to me, has pushed him into that Hall of Fame contention and what I believe should be in.
Yeah, he's been just dynamite. Pete DeBoer was asked yesterday, and it was an interesting question. Nick Constanisa does a great job covering the NHL for NHL.com about the goaltending situation. And let's face, he kind of phrased it interestingly, like, why didn't this go sideways on you? You know what happened last year. We know what happened in the bubble. Pete DeBoer termed it unnecessary noise that kind of distracted from what their mission was, what's last year, this year, any year, is to win the Stanley Cup. And, his answer was, I think they all felt that we should handle this better, handle it properly as we move forward. And he also touched on the relationship that's developed between Fleury and Robin Leonard, that in games, between periods and commercial timeouts, Leonard and Fleury talk constantly, and it's really developed. Leonard has taken a lot of pleasure in watching the success of Marc-Andre Fleury this year not only as a fellow goalie, but as a fellow teammate.
And that's what makes a good team. Guys that support and push, and certainly there's that internal competition, but at the same time they drive each other, they help each other, and they're genuinely happy to watch the other one succeed. And together they've been able to win the Jennings this year, and now Fleury's been able to elevate his game, so it's his net. And Robin Leonard, he'd be the first to admit, I can't argue with it, right? You see the way Fleury's playing, and I think it's terrific when you have that relationship with your two goaltenders, especially two number one goaltenders like the Golden Knights have.
Dean Evison, Minnesota's head coach, if you watch some of his press conferences over the last couple of days, I don't know if frustration's the word. I don't even think he's used that, but he's basically said, look, we've generated chances. The opportunities have been there. Fleury has been outstanding in these games, and he's right. If you look at it, they were probably the better team for most of Game 1 and won the game. They could have been up 3-0 after the first period of Game 2 were it not for Fleury. They jump out to a 2-0 lead in Game 3, almost made it 3-0. Goal gets called back before the Golden Knights got themselves going. Game 4 may be much more even, the best game the Golden Knights have played in the series. I guess the issue potentially would be for Minnesota, Shane, if that guy on the screen is going to continue to play the way he's been playing, it's going to be difficult for Minnesota to mount some sort of a comeback in this series.
And I wouldn't expect anything different. Fleury's been fantastic. I think the one thing I want to see from the team in front of him is I want to see a better start. I want to see them get going. You look at the goals scored in this series, just one goal by the Golden Knights in the first period. The Wild have put in a couple in the first. Vegas has obviously taken over. The second's been their strongest. The third, they've been able to dominate the Wild. But I think it's important, especially in an elimination or possible elimination game, to come out ready to go. And that allows your goaltender a little bit of more air to breathe back there if he can have that goal support early in a game.
A couple of more hellos here. We're gonna step aside momentarily, but Michael in Sweden says hello.
Oh.
Hello to you, Michael.
I was over in Stockholm.
There you go. You've been there. Yeah. I've been to Gothenburg.
I was visiting Mr. Carlson.
That's right. Great spot. Happy birthday, Leslie. Happy birthday to my twin nephews, Matthew and John, who have suited up at the Goucher Mansions here for the last several days and had a pretty good time zipping around Vegas. So, but happy birthday to Leslie as well. We're going to step aside here briefly, and we'll continue on with our coverage. Our morning skate show here from City National Arena. The Golden Knights getting ready for Game 5 later tonight.
Universal Solar Direct. Pay less for your electric.
Look at all these bills. We've got to find a way to save money somewhere.
Universal Solar.
Let's go solar.
Pay less for your electric.
Call Universal Solar Direct now to go on a power play with our exclusive offer. 0 down, 0 payments for 5 months, and 0 interest for 9 years. Invest today, save for a lifetime.
Universal Solar Direct.
Proud sponsor of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Call 702 for a free 6900.
Vegas Golden Knight Alex Tuck is a hero on the ice, and off the ice, he's doing something even more important. He's a registered organ, eye, and tissue donor. In the United States, more than 100,000 people are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. That's more than 5 times the capacity of the Fortress.
We all have the power to end the wait.
My son Mikey saved 8 lives and healed many more.
Learn more about Nevada Donor Network and register to be a hero at nvdonor.org.
You gotta put your heart and soul into it. Give it 110%. This is what you've been working for. You gotta play like there's no tomorrow because...
Yeah, Dad. I got it.
Because this is where champions are made.
Continuing along here with our morning skate report as you take a look inside City National Arena, courtesy of our Station Casinos Rink Cam. Dave and Shane with you as we all get ready for Game 5 tonight and what the Golden Knights hope to be their final game of the series for the Wild. Everyone talks about day-to-day. We're all day-to-day. They're literally day-to-day. If they don't win tonight, it's over for them. They will try to force a sixth game back in Minnesota come Wednesday. The Golden Knights are hoping not to have to make that trip and try to wrap up this series tonight. Bobby on Facebook, Shane, wants to know, how do you think the Golden Knights continue to shut down, knock on wood, Kirill Kaprizov?
Well, I think they did a good job doing it in Minnesota, which is harder because you don't get last change. You don't get the matchups every shift you'd like. So for the Golden Knights, they'll be able to get their matchups tonight. I think they've done a real good job, and you do it by committee. It's tough to defend those elite players one-on-one. You need to do it by committee. That starts with your forwards. The back pressure they need to provide in the neutral zone. The pressure back in your zone allows your D to stay up. Their gaps are good. Then you can take away time and space. I think they've really clogged up the middle of the ice, taking that away. Kaprizov's a guy that wants to get to the middle. And this is his first time in the National Hockey League playoffs, which is a different animal, I said earlier. And it's hard to score goals. So they want to keep him uncomfortable. Every hit, you got to finish on him. Try to make his night as difficult as possible. Force him to try things that he wouldn't. And I think that's something Vegas, if they can get back to, have a good start to this game, then the Wild start to force. And that's what happened last game. I think that's why they're able to get more goals. The Wild are starting to push, do some uncharacteristic things to try and find some scoring. And because of it, you can capitalize on some turnovers. You can get up the ice. The Wild, usually a smart team. They don't give you much, but if you can force them, and you wonder if they're going to be squeezing their sticks here and trying to force it, then that should benefit the Golden Knights if they play a smart game and can capitalize maybe on some of those mistakes.
So the Wild just 4 goals in the series. They had the only goal in game 1, lost the second game 3-1. Third game they lost, scoring 2 goals. And not just him, Shane. Kaprizov, no goals. Foligno, Greenway, Fiala, the chances he's
had a lot.
Zuccarello. So for a Minnesota team that averaged, I know it was a shortened season, but still the most goals they've ever averaged, over 3.2 goals a game in the regular year, a team record. Scored goals in bunches during the regular year. It's been a different story so far.
And 2 parts of that is really key is, the Golden Knights, their ability to break the puck out clean and quickly. That allows you to get in transition. Then that doesn't give the Wild time where they're a strong forecheck team. They're a heavy team, like to cycle it down low, wear you down. The other line, the Kaprizov line's a little more tricky. They're good at quick passes. So when they can break the puck out quick together as a unit and come out, that alleviates that forecheck pressure. That takes away from one of the keys for the Minnesota Wild. And then on the flip side, when the Golden Knights get to their strong forecheck, and then, a bunch of them talked about it, that's been a key element of them finding success here last couple of games. When they get to that strong forecheck game where they make smart decisions with the puck, it doesn't always have to be carried over or off the rush. Puck placement, get on the forecheck. Well, those guys don't want to defend. It's a lot more fun to play on the offensive end. You don't like defending. So those areas have been better for the Golden Knights, and that leads to keeping those guys off the score sheet.
Eriksson, 2 goals from Minnesota, Dumba and Hartman the others. That's been it so far for Minnesota in this series. I want to remind you, we will carry Pete DeBoer's pregame media conference here via the Zoom, of course. The Golden Knights head coach is going to meet with the media here shortly, and you will see all of that here on our morning skate show. Simon Shane, you got to love Simon. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning in Switzerland to watch the game
well done.
tonight. Simon, you're the best. This is phenomenal. What else here? E-Dub on the Twitch wants to know, in your opinion, what is something the Golden Knights still need to work on going forward to solidify their game? Talked about power play.
Power play starts, power play. I'd say those are the 2 key factors.
They've touched on this, and not so much game 4. Game 4 probably game 1, good start.
Game 1 was their best start.
But games 2 and 3, I think Mark Stone turned it. They kind of eased their way into the game. Didn't pay a price for it. We talked about turning points in a series or flash points in a series, Shane. The goal Jonathan Marchessault scores, right, in the second period, the other in game 2.
We said it at the time. If we'll look back,
enormous, right? So, and you've been in the situation up 3-1, down 3-1 in a series. I would think if you're up 3-1, you don't want to give that other team any hope.
No.
If anything, you want to try to take away their will, take away their hope, sooner the better in Game 5 tonight.
Yeah, you don't want them to build any confidence whatsoever. This is a time when you got to have, that mentality to finish things off, to do whatever it takes. This is the time. You're feeling good about your game. You can't look ahead. Don't look ahead. What if we win this? The Avalanche are waiting. No, your focus is on this game and about ending it tonight, playing and executing your best game. I think the Golden Knights believe if they play the way they can, they will win. And I do that too. I think when they can execute their game plan, play with depth, play with speed, play with heavy strength, good defensively, which they've been all season long. You don't get 40 wins in the regular season, so there's a lot of things for them to reflect on to know what they need to do here to be successful. And, but it's about having that mentality. This is it, the killer instinct. They need it here tonight.
They seem to really take a lot of momentum out of that Game 3 win. From 2-0 down in that game, from Mark Stone's goal, that made it 2-1. They allowed 5 shots the rest of the game, right? I think the shots were maybe 22-5.
Just dominated.
Yeah, just took over the game. And they seemed like from that point and from that, we'll say the final 32 minutes of that game, whatever it was, they've been a different team. The Wild, it seemed like, had trouble generating any offense the rest of Game 3. Didn't score in Game 4, had the goal taken back from Eriksson Ek, but what a job the Golden Knights did of just kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, just kind of snapping into it after that Stone goal, and then they were off and running from there.
And that's such an important thing in playoffs is that there are momentum swings, there's shifts in the game, and it's the team that can handle it the best. The ones that go in your favor, you try to make that last as long as possible. When the shift's away from you, it's about grabbing it back as quickly as possible. And I think Golden Knights have been able to do that. They've been able to handle those momentum shifts a lot better. And, part of that has been their goaltender, who's kept them in when they haven't had it. And then, as you mentioned, you go back to that Marchessault goal. They didn't have much. Took over from there. Fall behind in Game 3. Then they get, a big goal and mount that comeback. It just... Those momentum shifts are so good. I think Golden Knights, more than anything, do really well when they grab momentum. That to me, it's just. But sometimes you've got to create your own. You can't always wait for something to happen before you get it. You've got to create your own, and that'll be a key component here tonight.
They're hoping to grab their own momentum tonight in front of what will be a larger crowd.
So that helps, right? You come out in that building, you
right?
Don't need momentum. It's just it's a straight shot at adrenaline to the arm.
Not sure what they're going to have tonight, but more than what they've had so far. They had, 8,600 the last few home games. They're expected to have more than that tonight. And then hopefully, as we continue to get to a better spot here with COVID, knock on wood, if they're able to continue to play games, they would even increase that more potentially as we move forward into the month of June. Some more questions, Shane. Let's see here. Benjamin wants to know on Facebook, do we have a prediction for tonight? I'll go first. Why not? I like the Golden Knights 3-1 empty netter.
You want a close one?
To wrap it up. I'm not saying I want it, but I think that might be the way it's going to go.
I got 5-1.
Whoa! The sheriff on the board for a significant.
Yeah, but I want this to be easier on us. Let's have some fun calling goals. Let's have a party down at the Fortress. Let's celebrate. Make it easy. The fans here have been through some stressful times. Let's make it a little easier on the tickers.
I like that. Easier on us. Again, it comes back to what about us? What about our needs? On Twitter, Eric wants to know, do you think the physicality needs to be toned up or restrained in a series-clinching game?
Controlled emotion, I think, is the phrase we use a lot. I think physicality is a big part of the Golden Knights game. It's part of the Wild game, and you want to impose that on your opponent, but at the same time, there has to be that controlled emotion factor where you can't take it over the line, and you can't be silly. You can't have a costly penalty and at a bad time in the game. If you want, ask Archibald from the Edmonton Oilers last night.
Yeah.
Complete control of the Oilers of the game. Bad penalty by Archibald. Just angry, trying to take out a low hit on Jets defenseman Logan Stanley. Jets score on the power play, 4-2, 4-3, 4-4, 5-4 win. You can't do that. So that was a real good example of not having it, but certainly they can't lose the element of physicality.
Pete DeBoer, by the way, will carry his morning press conference here in about the next 4 minutes. Lorenzo on the YouTube, Shane. This is an important question. Who's better at golf between the two of us? Usually you.
Usually me.
Depends
Let's
on
have
the
a
day.
bad day.
Depends. Sometimes.
Dave can get rattled. Dave gets more angry than me, which is hard to believe. Probably a lot of people wouldn't guess that.
I get ticked.
Yeah,
At stupid shots.
Dave gets mad.
Useless. I call it creating more shots than you need to hit. You know.
And I have an advantage when I can go to the back tees.
Yeah. Oh, no question.
Dave off the tee is
Solid 225.
He bunts it out there.
He'll drag bunt out down the fairway.
But he's straight.
That's right. At least it finds the fairway. It still counts as a fairway.
There's no fun in that. I want to hit as hard as I can and have a little adventure.
I
where it's
try to
go.
hit it as hard as I can. On the Twitch, male 27. Can we get a goal score prediction from Dave and Shane? So who scores the goals? I'll tell you who I think might score tonight, who is due.
I know who you're going to say.
Shea Theodore.
Yeah, he hasn't got a point yet. Led them last year in playoffs.
Shea Theodore. I think we'll have a goal tonight. You know who else I'd like to see break through? Matthias Janmark.
Yeah. 1
goal with the VGK, empty netter. Had a nice setup on Alex Tuch's goal in Game 2, but I think he would be due to break through as well.
I got Chandler Stevenson.
There you go.
And I think Pietrangelo tonight.
All right. Well, your prediction was 5-1, so you need another.
Guy. I like the guy. I think Tuch and Stone are playing well. The usual
suspects.
culprits. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Let's see here. On the Twitters, what do you expect from Nick Waugh for the remainder of the playoffs? Is it time for him to finally make his mark?
Well, I think confidence, right? Finding the back of the net, that play, that line, maybe their best game. So. Yeah, carry that with you. It's always good for players like that to find the back of the net, to have a piece of that win, right? Everybody has a piece of it, a little more when they can, find the back of the net. That's not their job, but depth scoring is so important for them. Love to see, you look at Patrick Brown's goal, you see Nick Waugh scoring. That usually leads to a win when those guys can chip in offensively.
The playoffs always have stories like this, and a couple of ones I think we should just touch on quickly, Shane. And one is the story of Patrick Brown. Pete DeBoer mentioned after the game the other night, Game 3, Patrick Brown tore his hamstring, was out for 2 months with it, worked hard to get himself back and be ready if his time came. And boy, was he ready with an enormous goal to tie the game the other night, Game 3, 2-2, off a pass off the end boards from Nick Holden, who had not played the previous 20 games for this team.
Yeah, came in, picked up a couple of assists, huge goal by Brown, and that's so important, the depth. And it was part of the success for the Golden Knights this whole season, was having different guys step in. And I think we started the show like this up when you asked about Patrick. It's that next man up mentality, and the Golden Knights have been able to do it. And guys have not only just come into the lineup and taken up ice, they've contributed, and that's what you need.
You take your top goal scorer out of the lineup, as the Golden Knights did with Max Pacioretty. There was even some concern coming into this series with Alec Martinez. Was he going to be able to play, right? Missed the final couple
I don't know how you pull him out. Yeah, it's got to be
something. Well, and you think about,
incredibly significant for him to come out.
So if you're not playing at this time of year, you're dealing with
guys want to be in.
Very significant that doesn't allow you to play. On YouTube, what do you think the Golden Knights changed or have to be more consistent over the last couple of games? Have you noticed? I guess the thought is, Shane, they've gotten better as the series has gone on. At least Game 4.
I think they're moving. Yeah, I think consistency for them goes with them moving their feet when they have more pace to their game.
We're going to, hey, Shane, hold that thought. We're going to check in here. Pete DeBoer addressing the media prior to Game 5 later tonight.
Yeah, obviously that's an advantage for us for sure, and there's no doubt we would love nothing more than to close them out at home in front of our home crowd. But the elimination game is always the toughest, and you're playing a really good hockey team. I mean, the margins in every game so far have been razor thin. It's not going to be easy. They're going to be desperate, and we will be ready to play and put our best foot forward. But we can't take that for granted because we're at home and we've got a great crowd that's supporting us here, that it's just going to happen. This team's not going to be an easy out.
I guess we'll go to Justin Emerson from the Las Vegas Sun.
Justin.
You guys have given up 4 goals in 4 games. Fleury's obviously been tremendous. So I guess I'm curious, how much do you credit Fleury, and how much do you credit your kind of skaters stifling their offense?
Well, I think anytime you're up 3-1 in a series, it's a team effort. And obviously our goaltenders have been our backbone all year. And, we've counted on them giving us solid efforts every night, and that's continued through the playoffs. He's been excellent. But you don't build up a 3-1 lead in a series without contributions from all areas. And, it's been different people and different areas every night that have helped us put us in this position. And, but obviously that area in net has been key for us all year.
Next question for Pete this morning goes to Chris Matthews with Channel 8 Las Vegas.
Hey, Chris.
Hello, Pete. Can I ask you a little bit about the Mark Stone's reactions after goals and after great plays? It's just phenomenal. I know the medieval maniacs love it, the fans and so forth. What is kind of the attitude with the coaches and players sitting there on the bench when you see that kind of reaction, those kind of facial expressions, and just almost like it's like the biggest goal that's ever been scored?
Yeah, he's awesome. And what you don't see is 4-0 game, less than a minute left in the game the other night, and Janmark blocks a shot to basically preserve the shutout. Stone's on the bench and jumps up with his hands in the air like we scored an overtime winner. So, he's feeding that emotion into our group every day in all kinds of different situations, and not just when he scores. That's happening all the time. That's why he's our captain, and that emotion he brings to our group is critical.
Next, we'll go to Vince Sapienza from Channel 5 Las Vegas.
Hey, Pete, we talk about players putting doubt in the other team, inflicting their will on the other team. How much, I guess, is that even more of a message in a game like tonight to do it early in order to sustain the game and obviously clinch the series?
Yeah, of course. We want to do all those things. We want to win tonight in front of our home crowd. We want to do all those things. The reality is we're playing a very good team. It's going to be a really hard out. The games have been, the margins have been razor thin in all the games. They're desperate, and we're going to do everything we can to try and finish this off. But if we don't, we've built up some margin of error here through some hard work and some tough wins on the road that if it happens tonight, great. If it doesn't, and it's got to happen at some point this week, all we care is that it happens.
Time for a couple final questions this morning for Pete DeBoer. Next, we'll go to David Shane, Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Hey, David.
Hi, Pete. Can I just ask about Braden McNabb's status? Obviously, he was on the ice for morning skate, and just if he is back in the lineup, where does he help you most, maybe in terms of just clearing the front of the net and doing those sorts of things?
Yeah, Naber's been a key guy especially against this team. They've got some big, heavy forwards, and he's a guy that makes people pay a price to go to those areas. And so the nice part is our depth on defense has allowed us to survive. Him being out for a night. We'll see. We haven't made a decision yet on him for tonight. If he goes, he's a great addition for us. If he can't, we're very comfortable with the 6 defensemen we're going to put out there tonight because of our depth.
Next, we'll go to Jesse Granger from The Athletic.
Jesse.
Hey, Pete. I guess I'll be the one to ask if you expect Max Pacioretty, Alec Martinez, or Tomas Nosa to be available tonight.
All again, guys, all game time decisions. I think with these injuries, if there's a knee and the guy's out for months and we know he's not going to be back, or if it's a broken bone and we know it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks, that's obviously information that we would give you. There's a lot of injuries that aren't those, and literally, a guy gets up and could be feeling great and be an option to play, within 24, 48 hours. So that's what we're dealing with all those guys.
Last question for Pete this morning comes from Jesse Merrick, Channel 3, Las Vegas.
Hey, Jesse.
Hey, Pete, kind of along those same lines, with Patch gone, Alex Tuch has obviously stepped up pretty big for you guys. And I know last year guys kind of joked about him being an X factor, but how much of that kind of has he been for you guys in this series?
not just in the series, in my entire time here. The ability to have him when we're healthy on the third line, that mismatch that's created there with his speed and skill. The ability of a third line guy to jump in on the first line when somebody's out, like he's doing in this series, and not miss a beat, and that's what depth allows you to have, and he's a key part of that for us.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
So that is Pete DeBoer wrapping up his pregame availability. Some questions about some of the Golden Knights as to whether they would be available tonight. And Pete was not going to get into that too deeply. Max Pacioretty, as we say, if he doesn't play tonight, that'll be his 11th straight. Tomas Nosek got re-injured coming back in this series. His second shift of game 1, game 2? I can't remember, to be honest with you. Might have been game 1. It's a long time ago.
Hey, look at me.
Couldn't tell you what I had for breakfast yesterday. And Braden McNabb, good to see him back out there skating, right? So we'll see if he's able to get himself back in there tonight. In game 4, the Golden Knights kept Nick Holden in. Nick Habe came back in on the back end for the VGK. As we're gonna wrap this up in a moment, Shane. Pete DeBoer would have probably more the most unique perspective on what it's like for a team to come into T-Mobile and try to stay alive in a playoff series. He did it with the San Jose Sharks here a couple of years ago. Trying to block the game out of my memory, but if memory serves correct, it was a double overtime win for the Sharks that night on a shorthanded goal to keep his team alive. So now he's on the Vegas side of the bench trying to, have this Minnesota team come in and not give them any hope or take away their will and try to wrap the series up tonight.
Oh, that's certainly going to be the message in that room. They understood. He let it off talking about this is not going to be an easy out, this Minnesota Wild team. They had a tremendous regular season. They're a difficult team to play against in a lot of areas. So the message would be for his team, you got to grab hold of these scenarios when you have these opportunities. You've got to make the most of it. They need to come out and play their game. They're going to have their home fans. They're going to have that energy in the building. They're going to, everything you want to have in this situation, the Golden Knights do. It's a matter of now for them to go out and do it. It really comes down to that. But certainly Pete DeBoer will have different perspectives. A lot of coaches do when you get to different places in these series on how you need to approach it and how you need to be ready.
Well, the time can't tick away fast enough.
No,
today
let's get going.
The Knights and their fans, quite obviously, getting set for Game 5 tonight at T-Mobile Arena. We thank you for tuning into our morning skate report here, brought to you by UMC. But Game 5 tonight, be sure to tune in. Shane and I will have it for you, along with Stormy Bonantoni and the rest of the gang. 7:30. Opening face-off tonight. A little bit later, of course, the guys will have the pregame show beginning at 7 o'clock. But can't wait for this one tonight. The Golden Knights try to punch their ticket to round 2. The Colorado Avalanche awaiting whoever wins this series. But join us tonight for Game 5 on AT&T Sportsnet. Thanks for joining us here this morning on our Morning Skate Report, presented by UMC.